If you're using a cloud service like Microsoft Office 365, then you're probably talking about multi-factor or two-factor authentication. We're going to talk about one of the easiest ways to get into two-factor authentication today called the Authenticator App. Hi everybody, I'm Joe Malarkey and this is a Secure CRC update. Authenticator apps are a really good way to start out with two-factor authentication. They're fairly secure and they're also fairly easy to set up. They're just an app that runs on your phone, whether you have an iPhone or an Android. In the App Store, you'll be able to find several Authenticator apps. Microsoft has an Authenticator app. Google has an Authenticator app. And there's third parties like Authy and LastPass. They also have Authenticator app. And there's others. The way they work is usually the same, although different ones have their own bells and whistles. Now, if you have a cloud account and you're not thinking of two-factor or multi-factor authentication, then you're really just not being serious about authentication and about security. It's so easy to phish an account these days, to phish a password, that really we have to be using a second-factor authentication. You can't be that diligent. You're going to get fooled sooner or later, and if you think it's just average users that get fooled, think again. IT pros get fooled all the time. They think they're impervious to it, so they're almost not even looking for it. They're the ones that actually get caught more often than not, if you can believe that. So one of the easiest ways to get set up with two-factor authentication is to go to an app store from your phone and download and install one of these Authenticator apps. Now, your IT department may have already required you to use multi-factor authentication, and you have a few choices. You have an SMS or phone call that you can use with your phone, but if you're going to be using your phone anyway, I'd highly recommend you using an Authenticator app. You see, SMS and phone calls using just your phone number, they're a little bit too easy to break into and to spoof. Someone could actually walk into a Verizon store or AT&T or another place, and if they convince those people that they're you, they can actually steal your phone number, and then they get text messages sent to them. It'll be a lot harder for them to spoof these Authenticator apps because those are apps that are installed on your device. They'd actually have to steal your device and get into your device itself instead of just convincing somebody that they own your phone number and setting that up on a brand new device. So these Authenticator apps get set up fairly easily. All the cloud service providers make it a pretty easy walkthrough. Usually you'll go to your security section in your account, and somewhere in there there'll be a multi-factor or two-factor authentication setup. Once you get into that, you'll be able to choose an Authenticator app. Now once you choose an Authenticator app, your service will usually show you a barcode, actually a QR code. Those are those rectangle barcodes. And all you really have to do on your phone is tell the app that you would like to add a new account. The app will then turn on the camera. You point that camera at your screen and capture that QR code. And then bing, bang, boom, it's done. Now, if that doesn't work, you may end up having to type a code in from the screen into the Authenticator app. That's a nice fallback, and that usually almost always works. So if the QR code doesn't work, there's always another digit code that you can actually type in. Those will lock in your account onto your app on your phone, and really then you're set. So once the Authenticator app is set up with your account, there are actually several ways that you can authenticate. The typical way and the first and easiest way is to use something called a one-time password or a time-based one-time password, TOTP. These are just a 6-digit code that your phone will show you that you'll type in after you type in your password. So typically you'll be on your laptop, you'll try and go to your service, whether you get your email or whatever else, you'll type in your password and then it will prompt you for a second factor authentication. And you can actually see that the prompt is asking you to type something in. Well, if you look at the app on your phone, at the account on your app, you'll see a 6-digit series of numbers. You'll just type that number in on the screen. Now the 6 digits usually change every 30 to 60 seconds, and it's time-based and synced with a cloud app. So if it runs out and turns into another number, you'll just have to type that number in. So whatever the number currently is displaying on your account, that's what you actually type in on the screen. Now most of these apps, in fact all of them that I've seen, have the ability to have more than one account on them. So if you look at the app and you've set up multiple accounts, you'll see multiple series of 6-digit numbers that are all changing every 30 to 60 seconds. It's a nice convenience. You can have an account for your Office 365, you can have an account for G Suite, have a personal Gmail or a Microsoft personal email account. You can even add other services like Facebook and Instagram. Most of the Authenticator apps using this time-based one-time password will work with all of those services. But there's a few other ways that these Authenticator apps work that will actually depend on the service that you're using and the Authenticator app itself. One of the other methods that can be used is a simple allow or deny prompt that shows up on the phone. Now this is really convenient. You don't have to type in the 6 digits that you see on your phone into the screen. The only problem is not all Authenticator apps will work this way with all cloud services. And you can kind of pretty much guess the ones that are going to work, right? The Microsoft Authenticator app is going to work great with the Office 365 service, but not so great with Google's G Suite. Now Google has one called the Google Prompt that works great with their service, with G Suite for instance. Google Prompt is a weird thing though. It's not actually part of the Google Authenticator app. Now Microsoft's Prompt is part of their Authenticator app, but the Google one isn't. On an Android phone, for instance, it's actually set up in your Google Play account, and that's where you go to set up that thing. And you don't have to actually install anything. On an iPhone, it doesn't actually work with the Google Authenticator. It actually works with the Google app or the Gmail app, which is a little weird. In fact, when I've tried to set it up on my iPhone, working with my Gmail account, or I also have a G Suite business account, I really couldn't get it to work. I would get close and my phone would tell me, well, I would see the prompt on my phone, I'd hit the yes button, my phone would tell me, you're all authenticated, but the service never saw it. So I don't know if it's something I'm doing wrong, but if I can't figure it out, I'm figuring most people probably can't either. So I don't know if I can give that a strong recommendation just yet. They got to work the bugs out of that. The weird part of it is that it doesn't work with the Google Authenticator app either. One more way that some Authenticator apps work is to actually pop up a little 2-digit number on the screen that you'll have to match with a 2-digit number on the app. Microsoft's does this, for instance. So in addition to showing you an allow prompt, sometimes you'll have to actually match up this 2-digit code on the screen with the 2 digits on the phone. So Microsoft's Authenticator works with the Microsoft Cloud app. Google's Authenticator, or I should say Google Push, works with their cloud services. There are third-party apps as well, like Authy. Now Authy works as a simple time-based one-time password device or app where you'll actually have to type in the 6 digits. That's how it goes. Now the one good thing about Authy is that you can actually do a pretty easy backup of your accounts. See, if your app ever gets corrupted, or if you lose your phone or move to a new phone, you'll actually, for a lot of these services, have to set it up brand new on the new phone with all of your accounts, which is a bit of a pain. Authy makes that fairly easy. They let you back up all your accounts to the cloud and then actually sync them with another phone or transfer them to a new phone. The backup and restore is fairly straightforward. Now, Google doesn't really do anything like that with their Google Authenticator. And Microsoft, while they do let you do it, you actually have to back up the Authenticator as part of your phone backup to the cloud and then restore it. So that's a bit of a pain. It's not so turnkey as the Authy is. So if you're looking for a universal thing that's easy to back up, Authy is probably your best choice. You can choose any one of these authenticators. They'll all work as a simple time-based one-time password Authenticator. Some of them, again, are easy to work with, different services. I prefer the Microsoft app myself because I use Microsoft services most. Now, the Gmail one I mentioned had a little trouble with that, so that's another reason why I'm not a big proponent of that. I've used Authy. I do like the backup and restore feature. In fact, you can actually use more than one of these authenticators for your online accounts and use one of them as a backup. That's up to you. That gets a little muddled though, so I'd try and stick with one. Whatever you do, you should really be using something other than text messages or phone calls. The text message SMS service is way too easy to circumvent and get around and frankly fake. So try and stay away from that. If you're using text messages right now, switch to one of these Authenticator apps. I think you'll find that they can be just as easy as the text messages are, because all the text messages are, again, is a code. The phone call you get, that works well as well. You press a button and you're in, but again, even those phone numbers can be faked. So I would highly recommend an Authenticator app if you're just getting into this and you want to use something on your phone as an easy way to provide a second layer of authentication on top of your password. Well, that's it for this week, everybody. I'm Joe Malarkey with Secure CRC. Try and stay safe out there.